What up, y'all, and welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. We're getting around that time where we're waiting on an announcement for the end of the month so that way we get new cards, and it's kind of crazy to think that like we're already in that time once again for Pokemon Pocket. Let me know down in the comments below, like, are you ready? How do you feel about a new set coming out so shortly? And so we're taking a look at like the TCG cards to like fill in some of the cards that we don't have just quite yet, that like maybe we don't need to do a new region, and just kind of like fill in some of these missing pieces. All right, y'all. As always, we're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by June, so with your help, let's make that happen. And so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right on in. I think our first card that we are going to talk about here is a Scarlet Dirge, right? We have Meowscarada. Let's get Skillerdirge in here. Let's finish out these starters. For the mere fact that like this line is just not even in it is beyond me. And we like the EX versions. We always like some good EX mods here. This is like a really cool setup and like reimagining. Obviously the numbers and the attacks here as we go through these Pokemon cards, these are like real TCG cards. Excuse me. Okay, these are real TCG cards, so that's for like their HP and everything else like that. So we're gonna reimagine them as if they were Pocket, not thinking that like Scarlet Dirge will actually have 340 HP. So disclaimer done. But I think this like heal for an attack here is really cool, because Burning Voice, this attack does 10 less damage for each damage counter. So as low as your HP is, similar to how Regigigas gains attack based on how much damage is done to it, you lose attack based on how much damage that you have. So being able to power this up with potions, Vitality Song heals itself as well. You can pair this up with like with the Healing Wigglytuff, the Shamans, Pokemon Center Lady, like really focusing on a sustain deck. So that way once you get to your stage 2 and you get to this like Burning Voice attack, for however much damage that you do, you get to do max damage every single time because you're constantly trying to fill it up. I like that kind of ability, and being able to see that in Pokemon Pocket would be really sweet. And Vitality Song and Burning Voice, Vitality you're healing yourself, and Burning Voice you're hurting yourself. That's flavor. That's really that's cute. And then on the other end here, we have Quaquaval EX, who like just didn't make it either. And like, come on. Let's with this a new pack, and you're introducing, because like we've now seen Pokemon Pocket just be like, we're gonna introduce we're gonna reprint old cards with new text, you know, new Charizard, new Pikachu EX. We're going to give you small pieces of EXs here, or like Giratina EX, and we're gonna give you lines and just not include them at all, which was like crazy to me, right? And we're gonna get into some of these other ones later on. So Quaquaval EX here, let's make it happen. Let's get it back in here. This is for one exciting dance. Switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. I like this. This is kind of like a flip turn in like the VGC game, being able to just like deal damage for one, and then you get to safely go to the back. And then we have here this like Spiral Shot, put 2 energy attached to this Pokemon into your hand. So I'm curious as to like how that effect would like look like. Maybe you, instead of putting it into your hand, you put 2 energy attached to this Pokemon to somebody else, to other Pokemon. And so maybe like you're filling this up here, since it's low to the ground. Then you're like, you can pair this up with like Gyarados EX. You have energy, you do your 2 energy, and they only need 1, and now they're like ready to go because you now done the Spiral Shot. 2 energy goes into the Gyarados, now they're at 3, now they're ready to attack that like following turn. So like you could mess around with this. I like this idea of like moving energy around. And so I'm curious as to like maybe it's 1 energy, so that way you can stack up and attack again. This is 2, and there's only 2 attacking. So like we'll see how that can like play out if they bring something like that to Pocket. Up next is Armor Rouge, right? Like, I feel like this is a fan favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, and like it didn't get touched, right? So this is the Armor Rouge here, the Mega Man, you know, the cannon. They have the ability, as much as you like during your turn, you may move a fire energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So Vaporeon to what's for water to fire here, and I think something like this would be really, really sweet to like have Moltres just be more outside of just Charizard, throwing Moltres around with like, you know, Magmortar, and then we can have it around with like Volcrona, like some of those other like big fire heavy hitters that need a lot more energy. But you kind of have to play around with it, and like having something like this, we saw it pop off of Vaporeon, and Vaporeon came into the scene, so being able to have this for fire is pretty sweet. This like 3 energy attack for now being burned makes sense. We've seen that kind of like play out as well too, but I really like this idea of having a fire Vaporeon ability to like enable some of these other fire types that are really not just like played anymore. Then we have Cerulege. Cerulege is also pretty sweet here. For 1 energy, discard all special energy from all your opponent's Pokemon. I think you tone this down a lot and just like discard a random energy from your opponent's Pokemon, like 1 random energy. You're not dealing any damage, and so they're just chipping away. And I think that's fine. That's colorless. You can attack from there, and then it's like big hit, go home, 160. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. It has a retreat cost of 2. So maybe, you know, like it has like, there's like fossil tech that you can like do here of like, maybe it's like 100, or maybe it's like 100 and, I don't know, 100 for 3 energy. 130 for 3 energy. Yeah, you make it work. You let me know. But like fossil tech would work as like, you have a fossil, you have Cerulege up there, you retreat the Cerulege, go into the fossil, discard it, put it back up there, and then you get to attack again. Pretty sneaky, but it could work, right? Up next is like one of the legendaries that like made Gen 9 like really nice, right? Like you got your Ogerpon here. This is just like the fire type. You can make it play out similar to how like Arceus has like different cards that goes off of its own like ability, and like Triumphant Light was like focused on that. So maybe if we get like an Ogerpon pack, you get like, instead of like those Pokemon, but you get different Ogerpons to like collect. I wonder if that would be cool or not. To like see, but just being able to have like the fire, the dark type, the grass, and the water, just so there's 4 right there. But just being able to have Ogerpon in it, I feel like it would be a very much of a miss if we don't get that sooner, especially since we like seeing legendaries, and like this is cute. And of course, you know, you have your Koraidon and Miraidon as well too. I feel like that goes without being said. But what we also get is something that they haven't touched yet. We have our Ancient Mons, and then we have like our Paradox Mons, and like this is just such a cool feature that's also featured a feature for these games, introducing these new types of Pokemon, and so being able to have them in Pokemon Pocket would be pretty sweet. Gouging Fire EX, just a strong basic here. 2 energy, 60, 3 energy, can't use this again until it leaves the active spot. So it actually forces you to leave and then come back. But if you like power this up with Moltres, you use Leaf, you power that up. Like, you know, like there's just so many different ways of being able to play around this, especially if you like keep this semi-high for a damaging move to make it worth the fact that you have to like use a turn to like back up and then go in again. I mean, like, even if you like retreat into your Moltres Inferno dances right back up, and then you like speed out, and then you put this one back up in there. So it's a song and dance, pun fully intended. And then we have the Iron Crown EX, just to think of like the Gouging Fire as representing all of the Ancient Mons, and Iron EX representing all of the future Mons here. This ability is really cool. Attacks used by your future Pokemon, except for Any Iron Crown EXs do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. I would include Iron EX, so I said attacks used by any of your future Pokemon, and just keep it like that. Just because Lucario just does all of fighting, right? So like, why not have Iron Crown do all of future? And then this is a cool ability for an attack here. This attack does 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Takes 3 energy to get there, but being able to just deal 50 to 2 Pokemon is pretty cool. I think this allows you to choose. I think you get to choose, because we have a trio, which is 150 across the board, but it's random. But that's 3 energy, so 3 energy for choosing 2, so 50 here, 50 there. It could be pretty sweet. I think that's powerful enough in order for that to be like a good EX mon, and like why you would choose to be able to go into that. But again, having the ancient mons, having the future mons, this is just, I mean, like, there's just so many of them, so like why not? We got a little taste of Gen 9, and like they didn't even like approach these types of mods, and so having them in would also be great. And like, let's throw in some of these trainers, like Nimona. Where is she? She was just such a big part of constantly challenging you, and her already being a champion and being your rival, so like having her pop up, I mean, I'm like, yeah, we got we got Team Rocket Grunt, we got Red, we got Pokemon Center Lady, and like shout out to them. But Iona was the only Gen 9 here, and like again the teaser, but like let's get the rival. Let's do that. Like we have Blue. Why can't we have Nimona in here? And same thing, another great person to select along this journey is Arven. That'd be pretty sweet. And I kind of like this effect here. Search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool card. I think you just search for a Pokemon tool card instead, and then like not reveal it, but you just search for, or like you search for the Pokemon tool card, it comes into your hand, and then you have that. I think being able to always thin out your deck is always really nice. Being able to incorporate more of the Pokemon tools will be able to be really cool, but this also just means we just need more Pokemon tools. For the fact that like we didn't get any new ones in this set, it was kind of disappointing, because like while we have these two, like being able to use the Pokemon tools has definitely changed the dynamics of like the ways that we play Pokemon Pocket now, before there were any tools before. And Giant Cape and Rocky Helmet was a great way to start off, and I think Poison Barb could be really cool to have next. So if this Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon is damaged by an opponent's attack, the attacking Pokemon is now poisoned. And I think that's really nice, right? So if they get hit by Rocky Helmet, they automatically lose 20 health. But if they get poisoned, then they lose 10, then they lose 10, then they lose 10. You could always heal here, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think it should like bring up some of these other Pokemon up there, some poison strategies for that. Like that's also a lot of fun. Pokemon that use like those corner can't retreat abilities, we have that for fire, dark, and electric. And so like I like bring up some of these other abilities, some of these other unused Pokemon, because you get to like combo it with this Poison Barb here, and that's pretty nice. And of course, yes, we have Arceus that is, you know, special conditions can't be anything, you know, with their special conditions, like that it doesn't affect it. But seeing how the meta has turned right now, there is less Arceus out there than there was before. And with a new set, maybe it continues to like be on a downward trend in that sense. So those are like a lot of those Gen 9s that I would just love to see. And since they are so good at like going back to cards, right? This is my petition to see a Torterra EX. I think healing is all about grass types. I think this idea of 30 damage for each of your grass Pokemon in play, so that means you get to, and that includes itself, so that means you get to attack for 120 with the Torterra EX. That's pretty cool. I don't know if it's going to be 30, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20. But I like this. I like this. Like, let this be a powerful effect here for Torterra, especially because they made us wait for so long. And Empoleon EX, and I want this ability. I want this ability, y'all. Emperor Eyes. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's basic Pokemon in play, not in the active spot, in play, benches included, have no abilities except for Pokemon with a Roblox. Yada yada yada. That's great. That is great. And then this, like, moving energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon, so you gotta constantly make sure that your energy is here to be able to provide that extra energy out to your Pokemon. But this Emperor Eyes ability with an Empoleon EX is having play. And if you're like, oh, that's overpowered, that's way too strong, it's on a stage 2 Pokemon, right? Like, this is basic, but like this is going to be on a stage 2 Pokemon, so you still have to build up to there. You have to get it early for it to really like feel like it's overbearing. So like, I feel like having something as strong as this onto your stage 2 is pretty good. We're waiting for it. We're still waiting for a Dragon type EX here. I think being able to have this or Dragonite EX, and like, this is different from what's there. Like, Pokemon Pocket has water and electric, but even changing up the type that's needed, or the energy type that's needed, is totally fine. We've seen Pokemon have different energy requirements when they get like used again, so that's okay. But what I like about this is that it's like, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of basic energy attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you do, switch this Pokemon with your active. So you evolve, you bring up energy, and then you move forward. So like, running Leafeon with Dragonite EX is like pretty sweet here. You can run the grass decks on here as well. The Meowscarada and Magnezone decks could, like, one of those could be replaceable with the Dragon. I don't know, there's just a lot of things you can do. Grass and electric are both pretty sweet, but they're not as, I mean, I think the Green Kitty has allowed grass decks to be positioned well, but you know, electric doesn't mind having another big powerful hitter with more HP. The electric types HPs right now are like your Pikachu's, which is 120, your Pachirisus, which is 120, or 140, excuse me. And so, like, you know, like, they could use something. They could use a big body bond to like have some good backup in there as well. And I think the last one that I would love to see them throw back here is a Regigigas. That's right, this Regigigas EX here. You may do 20 more damage. If you do, this Pokemon does 20 damage to itself, so you can do 3 energy for 80, and then does 10 more damage for each damage counter. So you keep your ability from the normal Regigigas that we have in Pokemon Pocket. The more health loss that you have, the higher your attack is, and for the fact that you can now harm yourself and, like, you know, you like damage to yourself, that's pretty great. We've seen Promo Mankey now become an enabler for Primate, because you need to have the damage to yourself, and obviously when people see Mankey, they like avoided doing that. Promo Mankey allowed you to then make Primate, be able to be viable in that sense, and that was like really cool on that end. And so kind of being able to have that same kind of impact here for Regigigas, you're able to now empower yourself to boost up this Raging Hammer. It's 4 energy, why not get the most out of it? You're attacking with Giga Power for a couple more turns, or you're eating up whatever they're trying to get at you, and then you can like then finish things off with the Raging Hammer, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, y'all, these are the collection of cards between like the Gen 9 cards that I would love to see get represented with the new set. and also throwing back to some other cards and some other stage 2 evolution lines that could use a little love. Let me know, y'all, what do y'all think? What Gen 9 Pokemon would you like to see, and kind of what older Pokemon that we already have would you like to see either get a new card or new print, or even just kind of like a type change as well. Alright y'all, as always, hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely click that notification bell button, and until the next one, y'all, we'll catch y'all. Peace.